Well, we have learned there's a lot of horsepower underneath the hood of the Series 3, and that becomes even more powerful when you're able to store and recall complete setups. There are 3 different tiers of things that you can memorize. The first one, projects, are the global settings of your entire mixer. Things like user functions, graphic EQ settings, flex mix setups, etc. Scenes are stored within a project and hold all of your mix data. And finally, presets are channel settings that we looked at a section or so ago. They are settings just for a selected channel. Presets are shared across the entire mixer. So let's take a look. Let's get started by pressing Scenes, and here's the screen that will show you all the ways to either store, recall, or reset your projects, and then your scenes within those projects as well. So as I said before, projects are kind of a way to store all the global settings of your mixer. I would set up, like if you had a few different locations, maybe this was set up in a studio at home, and then you wanted to have another project where you were taking it out to a gig or something like that. So if you have different kind of configurations of the board, that's the way to do it under projects. If you're ever not sure about what's included in a project, a great way to look at that is underneath filters here, and that will show you all of the stuff. Look at all this stuff that's stored within a particular project. Of course, you can select and deselect these, but it's just a great way to see what's going to be stored within that project. So all you then need to do, if you wanted to store that, then click on Store there. You can give that a name and then hit Enter, and then that has been stored within that setting. Now, moving on to scenes here, we can do the same thing in terms of storing that, but this will all be about your mix. Your fader positions, all the fat channel settings, everything you could imagine on a mix can be stored within that scene. If you're not sure what's stored, again, go underneath your filters here, go to Scene Filters. Here are all the things that will be recalled, and you can deselect and select those here. I'll just leave them all on there, but that's just a great way to see what's being stored. I mean, everything is being stored down here, and we could prove that by, I'm just going to make up a kind of a smiley face curve right here, and I'm going to store that. I'm going to name that Smiley, whoops, if I could just spell, and enter that, and that's storing that. Great, now we'll go to another empty location here, and then we'll do something completely different, okay? Imagine it's a different mix, but it's not just the fader positions, it's everything within the console, but this will just make it kind of visual. And then we can store that, and I'm going to call this one Random Faders, and enter. So now that they have both, that's just saving right there. Now that we've set both those up, I could bring all of these faders down and go back to Smiley here, hit recall, and boom, we got a smiley face there. Go to random faders here and recall that, and then boom, everything comes back. So here's the hierarchy as we think of this. Projects are kind of like your global settings of your configuration of the mixer. So if you're going from a studio to a live environment, that's great to deal with projects. Or if you were just set up in different venues that had different I/O configurations, things like that, projects are a great way to do that. Scenes live within projects. You can't share scenes, from one project to another. But what you can do is presets. And we've looked at this before. Remember, we're in the fat channel here. We hit load here. You're familiar with this screen right here. Here's where you can store the entire fat channel setup, and you can decide whether that's going to be including the gate, comp, EQ, or all 3 of these. And here's the deal. These live independently of your projects and scenes, so that you can use them in any project or any scenes. They kind of live independently of that, and we've seen how to store and recall those.